Welcome to the Educational Physics Podcast. I am your host, João Figueiredo. This podcast is all about education, pedagogy, mindset, and really any other nonsense that I think about during the week. Enjoy. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing, reviewing, or even sharing with your friends. Welcome to another episode of the Educational Physics Podcast. Today, I'm going to talk again about artificial intelligence. I want to explore more concepts than the ones I've explored so far. But just to recap, last time we spoke, I suggested that artificial intelligence might be the key to unleash motivation to those who can't access proximity to subjects or potential passions. So, for example, if a student has a passion for Egyptology, how can we provide access to that field just by offering the student pictures or even videos on YouTube? Gets to a point that it becomes too diluted with everything else the student can indeed watch on YouTube. What will be the difference between watching a video about Egypt compared to a video about cats? I joke, but obviously that is the issue. The information comes from the same source, it becomes diluted in terms of its impact. Now, if a student travels to Egypt and this person has a passion for Egyptology, once again, obviously the impact of that trip will be overwhelming and positive and beneficial, and perhaps even the trigger that turns that passion into a purpose. And that is what we are talking about here today. How can AI and technology in general provide the platform that will allow students to go from passion to purpose? We are losing far too many people in these pursuits by not allowing them to experience these ideas and these concepts firsthand. They get this information handed down to them, but secondhand and in very non-immersive ways. So obviously, to go to a place in person is the most immersive of experiences. I can't deny that. If you can travel to one of these places that will give you the proximity and the exposure to a certain subject matter that you feel passionate about, obviously the impact of being there in person will be much more valuable than if you were to just read the book about it. But how can we provide that at a large scale? It's just not doable. Not everyone will be able to afford to travel to these places to go and see these things in person. So let's talk about the roots of motivation. What motivates people? First thing is a passion. A passion motivates someone. Like if you have an inclination towards something, that's going to be motivational. You will want to pursue that. But then a lot of things can get in the way of that passion becoming a purpose. Lack of proximity, as we've mentioned. Lack of exposure to the experience. A lack of challenge. This is an interesting one. Is a trip abroad challenging enough? So even if you travel to Egypt, let's stick to the topic of Egyptology. You travel to Egypt. If that doesn't offer a challenge to the student of whatever age, that motivation might die out, and it just might just vanish. There is something quite interesting about getting close to something that you're passionate about and then realize that it's just not challenging. So, AI can also provide an interesting alternative to this and offer challenges by gamifying the experience. Of course, without a challenge, there are also no results. You are not really achieving anything. So, how can this be done? AR and VR, so augmented reality and virtual reality, can indeed be sources of proximity, exposure, challenge, and results. In what way? Well, for instance, a virtual reality immersive experience of being in Egypt, inside the pyramids, and actually being part of an excavation mission. So you're actually working as an archaeologist or an Egyptologist in this case. And then you can actually succeed or fail and learn about the pyramids and the discoveries and the findings. You can relive the experiences of Nick Carter back, 100 years now. If this is the case, then of course your motivation to continue to pursue this is so much bigger. And now you can transport this to any other field. If you want to become a musician, you can actually experience being on stage at Wembley or even the road to Wembley. Many games have sports games have a lot of these sort of career modes. We can actually do that using virtual reality and make the experience as immersive, academically fulfilling and interesting, and also, a human experience accessible to most at the most immersive level just before real life. Right now, the distance between an in person experience and an academic experience, the gap is so huge in terms of the impact of the experience, right? Being there in person is the best option. And then the second best option is reading about it or watching a documentary. It's just not enough. So AR and VR can really be vehicles that will offer a second best option that is really quite close to the best option. With the development of these technologies, we'll see even more of the benefits of these ideas. So, in terms of the academic side of things, let's say that a student is working towards an exam, and this student has, as all students do, a peculiar way of understanding information, and she feels that it's difficult to relate to the way her teacher explains things. These are two different human beings and they learn and teach, consequently, differently. Of course, great teachers are pedagogically elastic and they are flexible enough to actually teach things 5, 6, 10 different ways. It's a challenge and I struggle with that, although I try my best to be very pedagogically elastic. I'm coining that, by the way. The reality is that it's very difficult. My biases kick in, the way I understand things kicks in, and as philosophical and metaphysical as I might be, and then I can bring it down to the level of the physical and the pragmatical or pragmatic. The reality is that students have peculiar ways of learning. So, what if we have systems, AI powered, that really understand the students' idiosyncrasies and peculiar modes of learning and really creates an environment for learning that is completely designed for that one student? So, imagine the dream: one teacher, one student, one-on-one lessons for everyone on the planet. But that's mental. it's the scale of it in terms of demand of, you know, people or for people is just outrageous. The concept of one teacher per student is just unfeasible, and that's one of the biggest problems with modern education, is that, you know, we have too many students per teacher, and that the education becomes diluted. A lot of students feel neglected because they just can't really relate to the way the classes are being taught, and the issues are just endless, as we know, especially in this new age of education for the masses, where we live in this place where we need to find the balance between making education accessible for everyone, but still individualized enough so we don't have students feeling like they just can't relate to the educational system. I was one of those students. I can relate to this. I grew up being comfortable with academics. So I was a good student on paper, but I had to work out my own way of understanding the information so I could um, sort of create my own internal curriculum that wasn't necessarily the one that teachers were carrying out and teaching. Um, but fortunately, I had enough support at home that guided me to do my own thing, so to speak. But the reality is that this is not the case for everyone. A, most students don't have that kind of guidance at home. And B, the system is just not designed for bespoke education. AI can once again bridge that gap. So, ITS, or intelligent tutoring systems, are precisely AI devices or programs, whatever you want to call them, that provide exactly this completely individualized one on one coaching system that supports students. So, the way it does it, it covers three, or it goes into this interaction from three different angles. The domain perspective, which is an AI machine that can learn virtually anything and everything about a specific domain, and it acquires the knowledge available to it, obviously through the internet. So, this would be an AI machine that is connected to all information in real time. The second perspective is the pedagogical perspective, which is this is an AI that is fully knowledgeable of all modes of learning and teaching. And I mean all that have been so far documented. So now we have domain proficiency, pedagogical proficiency, and now the third category, which is the one that fills in any potential gaps, which is the learner perspective. So now this AI machine is also capable of learning from the student, not necessarily about the domain or the pedagogical side kind of is the overlap domain here, but we have the subject matter and then we have the learner's way of learning. And now the machine knows how to operate within that field, because it also understands all pedagogical methods. So we have domain, pedagogy, and the learners. So more of a learner-centered, uh, teaching style. The machine will be able to then understand the students' styles of learning, the things that the student usually struggles with. So it will start to learn patterns. So common struggles and common successes will become part of that machine style of learning, that specific student. So this is the ultimate coach, because it's someone who's learning about you as it's teaching you. This is not doable in the way we teach nowadays. So just wrap your head around that. You have a student, or if you have a child, and you can trust that that child will have the perfect tutor, the perfect companion that will support hers or his academic pursuits. Now, as a parent, let's say your role now becomes of cheerleader and supporter, and you're gonna guide this child or this young person on the more social, philosophical, human level, creativity, personal exploration, and providing the opportunities to pursue passions uh, on the physical level. Whilst AI will bridge that gap between what you provide and what school provides. And we have this perfect symbiosis between human pursuit, academic pursuit, and then how that comes together to provide purpose and the path for life. That idea of adaptive learning is not new, and we teachers have been trying to offer this to students sort of in real life. But obviously, like I said already, the scale of it makes it very difficult to basically to fulfill. It's so difficult to be completely adaptive as a teacher to every single one of your students' needs and requirements. There's a already a functional AI machine that does this. There are several, but one, for instance, named Mathia, Mathia, and this is the ultimate bespoke coach. It learns, it teaches, it understands your needs and motivations, understands your blind spots, so it knows how to design your own specific curriculum that will allow you to cover all your tracks, teaches you the way you absorb information the best, whilst also understanding where you're falling short in terms of your understanding of concepts. It's just, for me as a teacher and as a father, it's the dream. Now, the other thing that I also think about quite a bit is how AI, AR, and VR altogether can provide more motivation to those who lack resources. So, think about Africa. It's obviously a continent that is in fast transformation, and there's a lot of economical transformation at the moment. I apologize for repeating the word transformation, but it is what's happening. And there's an evolution there that we are witnessing. But the reality is that wealth is still very poorly distributed for several reasons, from wars to corrupt governments to an historical struggle to utilize resources in a way that is beneficial to its own communities. And so, schooling and academic pursuits of obviously become an issue. And if that's the case, then motivation in terms of, let's think about the children. How can we justify that a child in Africa, let's say in the Congo, feels that it is perfectly legitimate that he or she wants to be, I don't know, a scientist? How could that be? How can we justify that idea? In other words, how could that be possible? We would be talking about the most outlier of outliers. On the flip side, in India, that's perfectly acceptable that a child has that motivation. Why? Because children are exposed to that possibility. And when you're exposed to the possibility, motivation arises. So, once again, we're talking about the lack of proximity. exposure, challenge, and then results. How can we bring that to the Congo? Well, we can globally, the first world, in a way, the developed countries, Europe, United States, Japan, China, etc., can come together, create and offer the funds, or even just offer the technology to these countries, such as the Congo, AI machines, Matthias of this world, the Matthias of this world. And we can then bridge once again the gap that separates the children from places where you can't find the resources to travel abroad and and do what is called pupil mobility, right, where you go abroad and you explore different realities and different cultures and you become much more open-minded. The reality is that that's not a thing if you're in the Congo. Okay, you're just not going to do that. And then what do you do then? You will basically get stuck in the reality where you belong now. So your mindset and your landscape, your radius of imagination becomes limited to your local landscape. So what you see right in front of you is your reality now, and it's your reality tomorrow. But if you can once again put a VR set and experience becoming a scientist, visiting Japan, becoming a professional athlete, a musician, a neurosurgeon, whatever, if you can experience that firsthand and actually go through the challenges that come with it, and then you take off the VR set and you realize, okay, I have a lot to study here, so I can come back here next week and show results, because the AI side of the virtual reality experience will then know you, so it will challenge you to pursue more. And those results will then breed more motivation. And that the more motivation you have, the more you'll want to apply yourself. And one day, you will not only be motivated to pursue that as a career in real life, but you will actually have the skill set. And you never had to leave the Congo until you leave the Congo to pursue that, now equipped, confident, and knowledgeable. We can have students attending, of course, we already have online universities and whatnot, but imagine this, a student in the Congo actually attending lectures at Oxford, not just through Oxford, but at Oxford. I mean, once again, if that's not the dream, and these AI machines will understand the cultural differences. A child in the Congo will have a completely different mindset when it comes to learning, and even what motivates that child to pursue medicine, let's say, will probably be motivated by its own reality. The fact that there is still quite a lot of disease in Africa that kills people unnecessarily. Now, this child will want to become a doctor to fix that, and he will have the skill set to do so. And definitely will have the motivation due to the proximity, exposure, challenge, and the results provided by the virtual reality, uber immersive experiences. So, if this is not a good reason to pursue these sorts of technologies, and yes, I appreciate that there are ethical issues. Of course, there are limits, there are dangers. We can lose ourselves in these virtual reality worlds. I understand that. There is a transition that needs to be made then back into the physical real world, so to speak. But the reality is that there is no reality. Reality is what you make of it. So if you can put a layer in front of you Let me rephrase that. If you can put a new layer in front of the layers you already have in front of you, because we already have those layers, those are called biases. So put a new one in front of you, one that allows you to improve on your mindset, have more of a growth mindset experience, more limitless. Then for me, there is no argument. This is the way to go forward. This is where we should go next. As humans, we must bring these technologies and make them, bring them on and make them useful, make them our allies rather than just toys and things that we can game with. I'm not against gaming, but the reality is that if we can bridge this gap between the technology, education, bring the world together, allowing students, children, adults to really experience their own education in the way that they most benefit from it. For me, that's I rest my case scenario. I hope to very soon speak to some experts on artificial intelligence so I can ask them some dumb questions. But in the meantime, this is today's episode. Please share, like, comment. I look forward to seeing you again next week.